Welcome, everyone. I call the May 25th, 2024 Landmark Preservation Board meeting to order. Before we move on to the agenda items, I'd like to acknowledge our hybrid meeting format. The City of Bothell is providing the option to attend this meeting either in person or remotely via Zoom. For those participating via Zoom, the chat and question functions are not available for use to ensure compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. We have a public comment agenda item at the beginning of this meeting. This time is for comments and issues not on tonight's agenda. Please limit these comments to 3 minutes. Please note that the City of Bothell does not tolerate verbal harassment. Please remember this during your comments. Public comment will be allowed both in person and via Zoom. Those wishing to comment via Zoom were asked to submit an online form by 3 p.m. today. People wishing to submit written comments were asked to submit those comments by 3 p.m. Email was encouraged as well and will be acknowledged. Those in attendance may also make comments and have been asked to indicate their desire to comment on the sign-in sheets. The Imagine Bothell notice, city website, and tonight's agenda all provided information to the public for providing comments. A call-in number was provided on the meeting agenda for members of the public who wish to call in by phone to listen live to the meeting. For our phone-in callers, during staff presentations, staff will make every effort to specify which materials they are referencing so everyone can follow along. At this moment, we will take a moment to take a roll call of the members by position number. Please unmute your microphone and say here when I call your name. Board Member Thomas.
Here.
Board Member Babajanov.
Here.
Myself here. Board Member Aryu Jyoti.
Here.
Board Member Burgess is absent. Board Member Salazar.
Here.
And Board Member Soppy.
Here.
Thank you. In addition, the following city staff are in attendance. Nick Schmeck, City Planner. Elaine Kiefer. And Adam Alsobrook. Before we begin, I'd like to reiterate some meeting guidelines. For all meeting attendees, please speak clearly and pause frequently. Mute your microphone when not speaking. Please state your name before speaking. And for those making presentations, please pause periodically to ask if there are any questions. For board members, at the appropriate time, I will be calling on each member by position number order, asking if they wish to speak or ask a question. I will also be doing this when it is time to vote. If you wish to speak, please indicate this by raising your hand, and I will call you as I see you. This will help avoid the problem of two people speaking at the same time. Identify yourself before you ask to speak and make a motion or second a motion or participate in debate. And please mute your microphone when not speaking. If there are any objections, please raise your hand. See none. The first item on the agenda is non-agenda public comment. If there are any members of the public here that are wishing to speak about items that are not on the agenda tonight, seeing none here. City staff, are there any public comments that we should be aware of?
Unless there's someone online, which it looks like everyone is a board member, then no.
Thank you.
Today. Thank you.
Okay. Well, approval of minutes. The minutes from our last meeting on April 23rd, 2024 were included in our packets. I've read them over. I was not here, so I don't know if I should really make that motion, but from what I see, they look good. But would anyone like to make a motion to pass these minutes? I guess we're going to review them first, too.
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that the minutes from April 23rd, 2024 be approved as written.
Board Member Soppy makes the motion that's approved the minutes as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Board Member Thomas seconds. Is there any debate on this? Seeing none, I will go to a vote. Board Member Thomas?
Aye.
Board Member Babajanov? Board Member Babajanov?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Board Member Ari Lajoti?
Aye.
Board Member Salazar?
Aye.
And Board Member Soppy?
Aye.
Approved unanimously. Old business. A copy of the revised bylaws for the Bothell Landmarks Board Preservation Board was included in the agenda tonight for tonight's meeting. A staff memorandum, dated May 16th, I might have mispronounced that, May 16th, 2024, can be found on page 14 of the agenda packet. Let's see here. I suppose we should look at if there's any discussion on that, or is there a presentation or anything like that, or?
We'll start off with the board reading off the staff memorandum, and then I'll provide some extra detail, and then we can absolutely open it for discussion.
Okay.
Fantastic. I can. Yeah. All right, fantastic. So starting off, just we are here to discuss this is, like we said, this is old business. I believe it was December 13th of 2023. Staff brought forth some very minor clerical modifications to the City of Bothell Landmark Preservation Board bylaws. And here what you see today are some edits that were suggested during that December 13th meeting, and a couple additional edits. As you'll see with our staff memorandum, I'll just go ahead and read it for today. The Bothell Municipal Code, Title 22, authorizes the board to revise its bylaws. Specifically, the background for today is staff have made some minor edits to change the Landmark Preservation Board bylaws to make them current and consistent with other board and commission processes. We have reviewed these against Washington state law as well. Additionally, the bylaws have been changed to reflect when the regular scheduled meetings of the Landmark Preservation Board shall be held. After speaking with the City of Bothell clerk, city manager, and the director of the Community Development Department, Jason Greenspan, the clerk identified that they saw that there was going to be some conflict with council meetings in the future with our typical regular scheduled meeting. That being today, Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of every month, besides the month of August. Therefore, we worked closely together with the different departments, and specifically the clerk's office and the city manager's office, and identified a new date, that being the second Wednesday of each month at 6 p.m. Finally, staff have made some additional minor changes to the Landmark Preservation Board bylaws to address comments from the board members once again from that end of December meeting. So we can go ahead and scroll down here. I think to start off, it probably would be most efficient just to go through the minor edits. And perhaps if we could today, we could make, the board could make a decision on the edits they have in front of them, as well as let's make a vote on that. And then after that, we can have a discussion about anything that they would like to add further. Once again, we will have to run that and review that against any code. We would have to review that with our legal counsel and the deputy and city director for the community development department. So today, if we could make some of these modifications that you see in front of you, and then of course, staff want to hear any additional suggestions and modifications separately, which we could bring back to the board at a later date to vote on. So you can see on the screen referenced here that we've made just a couple minor edits here. Once again, these are very, very simple, just clarification, making it more streamlined. We've removed the city of and put in the Bothell Municipal Code, removed the ordinance and just identified the BMC. Moving down, just some simple removing commas and adding ands, simple mistakes that we thought would be a little bit more streamlined to your reader.
And eliminating
and eliminating an officer position as well, as we will only have a chair and a vice chair. As well as we moved the officer nominated elections from April to May. The city holds its what should we call it? Their I'm spacing on the word. I apologize. They hold their conversations with the potential electors and nominations, and they have meetings with them in the month of April, and therefore we should bring it to the next regular scheduled meeting, which would be in May. Hence why also on our agenda today we will be having a nomination. Moving further along, I was thinking of interview. The word was interview. We hold our interviews in April, and therefore we should nominate at the next regular scheduled meeting in May. All right, moving down, some added language, nothing deleted here, but we added that under the duties of the officers, that the chair shall coordinate the creation of the agenda for all meetings with city staff and add items to the agenda as they or other members of the board may suggest. Once again, city staff intent here is to promote the relationship between the board and staff, and working with the chair, who is appointed by the board, to make sure that all interests and all active wanting agenda items are added each month. Vice chair assumes the duties of the chair in their absence. Once again, we've removed the secretary position, so that's been stricken from the record. Staff assistants, we have added some language here that says staff of the Department of Community Development will provide administrative support and assistance to the board. Thought that this was a little bit better language than what we struck through, which says the board will be provided assistance by staff of the Department of Community Development. Similar language, just reworded a little bit better, right? As we heard during that December 19th meeting, in section 7, we have qualification for board members, specifically where we have requirements that the board shall always include at least 2 professionals selected from the disciplines listed here. From the last meeting, we heard that there was some wants from board members to include Native American and Indigenous studies. So that was included for those 2 professionals in the future. If we ever got new board members, if you fell into one of those 2 categories, you could be a professional and be represented on this board in that position. For regular scheduled meetings, once again, we have changed from the 4th Tuesday to the 2nd Wednesday, still at 6 p.m. And board member Sompi brought up too here that this previous right here says that applicants or persons with business on the agenda for the next board meeting shall submit all materials relevant to their no matter later than 9 a.m. on the 2nd Tuesday of the month. This is exactly the intent here, is 14 days prior to the board meeting, specifically the applicants or persons that are providing information to staff. This should be changed to be exactly 14 days prior to the new date. Once again, I think that would be probably the 4th Tuesday of the month. Mm-hmm. Special meetings. Added in some language here, specific RCW language. Once again, trying to make sure that our board bylaws are in compliance with state law. I'll read the section here that was added. Written notice of such meetings and its purpose shall be given to all members not less than 24 hours in advance thereof. And this is the new part, pursuant to RCW 42.30.080 of the Open Public Records Act. Notices of special meetings shall also be given to third parties as provided in RCW 42.30 080. Moving along here, under section 5, under the agenda, we deleted backup and added supporting materials. Once again, same concept, just a little bit more business oriented, one may say. Public hearing procedures. Board member, item G has some modifications. Board members shall voice other significant considerations and pose any relevant questions to parties as called upon by the chair. The chair may also question the proper parties for necessary answers. Jumping down below for some more clarifications in the rules and procedures, we added in Title 12 BMC, and we removed the city ordinance specific number 1258. Under committees, we added in the number 3 written out. The chair of the board shall appoint the members of each committee not to exceed 3 members and shall name the chair of each committee. And down here to the bottom, the bylaws adopted January 16th, 2000, revised and adopted September 25th, 2018, and then revised and adopted, we've added today's date, May 28th, 2024, with the proper chair, Andrew Nelson title and signature line with date. I guess now would be a good time for the board to converse about any of these specific clerical changes. If anyone has any issues with these, we are happy to have that discussion now. Once again, I would love to get through just these simple modifications, and then after that, let's talk about opening up the table for suggested add-ons.
Board Member Soppy?
Yeah.
I just want to point out that the 3-minute
Yes.
time for speaking just
Yes.
needs to be added somewhere.
That does need to be added. We will, in the next segment, let's get that as added in. Currently, I will say though, based on our procedures with Planning Commission and Council, that is our in-house policy, that when anyone from the public comes in, whether or not it's for a public comment just for the normal open public comment or for specific new business public comments, which we sometimes have, we would hold them to a 3-minute limited time. But I do agree, we will get that added. Thank you for that.
That's a good addition, I agree. Board Member Salazar, I see your hand up.
Yeah, could you give a little bit of reference behind the role of the secretary and then why it was eliminated?
Yes, happy to do that. So city staff performs the function of the secretary for the Landmark Preservation Board. This actually is a representation of one of the largest components of staff support that is given to the Landmark Preservation Board, is developing these minutes and also creating other materials, including the agenda and the chair script. So, basically since there are, stipulated regulations, about procedure and things of that nature, that's the reason why the secretary position was eliminated.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
A follow-up question on that. It appears previously the secretary had a responsibility in terms of certifying.
Can you please speak in your microphone?
I could get it down. Previously, the secretary had responsibility for certifying the minutes. Is that deemed not
Now it's certified by the board through.
So it'd be certified by the board when we approve it, basically?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yep. And I will say that we have a few different hands that will go through and script up the minutes. I would like to shout out Mary Beth Quinn, one of our new staff members who you guys see quite a bit. this board would not run smoothly without her. So thank you.
Can I just give a little bit of history on that, just for the board? Because when I joined the board in the early 90s, we did have a secretarial role, and we took the minutes. But it gradually, particularly in the 2000s, where they started being recorded, then the role shifted to be more comprehensive as more information needed to be passed between staff and board and vice versa. So it became more of a scripted role. And we no longer had to sign the minutes at each meeting. So there was a role previous. This formalizes the fact that that shift has completely occurred.
Excellent. Are there any other comments on the current revisions?
Just on the section 5, section 5, the agenda, where backup was replaced with supporting. Does supporting encompass the background information and things as well in terms of?
Yes.
Okay.
We thought that backup was like, backup doesn't always include, sometimes there's contextual items that need to be added, and that's why we thought supporting was a more suited term.
Any other comments? Seeing none, would anyone like to make a motion to approve these revisions?
My understanding is our second phase, we'll approve these minor changes in our second phase, and dealing with the bylaws will be a more comprehensive review by
That is
board.
correct. The second phase of this will be an open conversation for us to add in, and I can even actually open up a separate script, and we could start adding some things in. Once again, though, we just can't vote on that tonight because I need to be able to run that by the powers that be, our legal counsel, so I can inform you properly that it is compliant with our code.
Yeah, in addition to that, it's been a continued item before, and it needs to be resolved this evening. The other thing,
Get some of these things squared away.
yeah, and the other thing too is that the approval of the bylaws also provides the authority for you to elect your officers, which would otherwise then have to be tabled. So since we've got a lot of administrative things to deal with this evening, that's why. The other reason too is that there needs to be that opportunity to fully vet this and also present it as part of the agenda packet to the public next month.
Works for me. Thank you. I would move that we accept. Turned it off there. I would move that we accept the minor bylaws revisions presented by staff
Board
at
member,
this time, and then following that, proceed to further discussion.
Board Member Thomas says or moves to move the bylaw revisions and then go to phase 2 of their provisions. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Board Member Sompi seconds. Is there any discussion on this? Further discussion? Seeing none, we will now go to a vote. Board Member Thomas?
Aye.
Board Member Babajanov?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Board Member Ari Jyoti?
Aye.
Board Member Salazar?
Aye.
And Board Member Sompi?
Aye.
Excellent. Passes 6-0.
Fantastic. So yeah, now would be a great time for us to open up the bylaws. If any of the board members have any other suggested edits, I understand that this would be a good time for you to provide those. Once again, we will have to what each of you wants to add to this is very important, and we want to take the time to do so. But we will have to take that back and have it reviewed against the code with our legal team, and then we would be happy to bring that back at the next appropriate time with the board.
One quick thing, Nick, I believe to memorialize this, we need to have the chair, the current chair, needs to sign a copy of the bylaws as they were adopted before we have the election.
Oh, where would they sign? Oh, okay.
Just go up there, or?
Can he sign his copy?
Yeah, that would,
Yeah.
yes, that would be perfect. Thank you.
Just on, silly question, but just on the agenda packet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll be more than happy to switch.
I think she still has a copy.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we ready to go on to the next item?
We're still in the same.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Excuse me.
I mean, I will just say into the record
Absolutely.
that the chair did just sign the updated minutes, or sorry, the updated bylaws with the minor edits. And now, if you like, you're welcome to open it up for further discussion about add-ons to the bylaws.
Certainly, we'll open that up. Board Member Sompi?
Okay, so you have recorded the two items that I gave you. The 3 minutes should be in there, and the date should, for the Tuesday, should be the
That's
fourth
correct.
Tuesday.
The 3-minute limit for public comment will be added, right? As I hear that from you, I agree. I think the rest of the board would agree. I also believe that we discussed that at the previous meeting as well. And that seemed to be pretty unanimous.
I'd just like to note, I think we should have a little follow-up to that saying a majority vote of the board may extend any individual's time.
I'll jot that down. Absolutely. Yep.
I mean, it usually goes without saying, but I think we should say it.
Is that would be something to check to make sure that's in keeping with
Correct. We got
what's allowed by
the Open Records Act and
Yeah,
a few different
there's
places
some-
that we'll have to check. I will also say too that typically staff's goal here is to try to just stay as consistent with our other boards
Right.
too. And I know that Planning Commission, we just updated their bylaws, I believe last week, and I believe theirs just says 3 minutes, but I will definitely ask about adding the provision that it could be extended.
I think if you have somebody giving information related to something that's allowed, but there's some funnies in there that,
Testimony versus public comment,
yeah,
different, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Quick, oh, go ahead, sorry.
And then, sorry, the second item was the materials provided by people with business or persons to staff. That needs to be reflected to change to 14 days prior to the new date.
yeah, if you go 14 days, then if you hit a 5th Tuesday of the month versus a 4th,
We're good.
you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is specifically, just I want to get that on the record, that is
Article 5, Section 1.
Article 5, Section 1. Thank you.
My question, this isn't a quiz, but I was just going to ask, is for city council, do they allow extension of public comment? Do you know? Like if someone, no?
I'm not aware at this time.
That's okay. It's not a big,
Yeah,
I was just curious.
definitely something I will look into.
No problem. Just a thought question, but okay, great. Any other thoughts?
I have a few.
Board Member Thomas, go ahead.
I would suggest under Article 2, duties and responsibilities, the second sentence, the board shall serve as the city's primary resource. I would add, and decision maker on matters of history, historic planning, and preservation.
Do you have these written down?
I have notes made on
Your notes made? Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna jot down all of our notes and make sure that we get, everything taken into consideration too. If you wanted to follow up too after today with an email about some of these, but I will make sure that I go through and jot these down. You might just have to go a little slow for me, right?
Okay, and on matters of history, historic planning, and preservation, to identify, inventory, and actively encourage and maintain the conservation of the city's register of historic landmarks.
So what I'm hearing is you want to rewrite this section.
So after identify, we would just add in a reference to the inventory. And then after encourage, we would add and maintain. And then further, since that's a very long sentence, after City Register of Historic Landmarks, to review, to review and approve proposed changes to listed properties and to raise community. So we just add after review and approve.
Would it be more effective that you could describe to staff what you're trying to accomplish rather than maybe wordsmithing right here on the spot? It maybe if you could describe some of the more specifics just of what you would like this to include.
Basically, what I'm trying to do is set up for us eventually the task of looking at the code regarding landmarks preservation, and there's two major code areas, and identifying where we do and where we don't, where we should have authority in some matters regarding historic preservation.
Understood.
Okay. And then, let's see. I'm a little concerned in terms of these, the new changes with the, not that it made any difference on the old ones, but that we really don't have a specific paid staff person. We have an assignment to currently a planning department member, which is, I think, short of planning department members as it is, and we have consulting staff, which I'm not sure that creates a strong enough historic preservation presence, because I think it's important to identify and provide staffing for that important aspect of our community.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you there.
But that gets into some budgeting issues and stuff, which
Exactly.
I may address later.
We have had a little bit of some staff turnover. As you guys are all aware, we have removed a position that they they got a much better job and have moved on. Sarah Desimone, who used to be the city's historic preservation officer. Since their absence, we have brought on Willamette, our landmark historic preservation consultant, who has several team members on there, all very qualified and educated in historic preservation, landmark preservation, and more. I can't even begin to describe how knowledgeable these individuals are, and we've been very lucky to have them. That has been an investment that the city saw and identified with Sarah leaving, that we needed to fill that void. I will also mention, too, that we have recently brought on 2 additional long-range planners, and I believe we have a 3rd long-range planner coming on board shortly. City Council also has provided Director Greenspan with 2 additional positions on top of that, to my knowledge. So we are filling the staff up, and we are building up a team. I do identify, too, that I have been pointed out by our team that myself and Adam will be running and supporting this board and doing whatever you guys need to be successful. We are, lack there of a better word, the liaisons to this board now through the Community Development Department. And we're happy to be here. And if that's potentially something you would want to add into the bylaws, that so be it. But nonetheless, someone from the Community Development Department, most likely planning related, will be here to support.
Yeah, I guess my conversation with the board is just a concern that the staff then is actually out of any control or direction by us. They're immediately subordinate to whatever the current code or the current whim of the city council might be. And as far as us working with staff to look at the code and say, we need revisions here that will strengthen historic preservation in the community, as opposed to just get along with what we're doing. So that's my concern.
I think I hear what you're saying. We have definitely identified as well that Director Greenspan has put in a budget request with the city manager's office, with their team, and there has been some asks to identify and relook at Title 22, specifically the codes. I would say that a code audit has been brought up. That has been under discussion. Once again, I do believe that would be something that we would be interested on bringing in a third party to do so. Someone who specializes in code writing for landmark preservation, and that way, once again, it would be a third party look at something like that, and that's something that once again is directed by budgetary decisions, and it's something that has been asked for, and that's absolutely something that I hope to bring back and to discuss further with you at a later date.
Okay. No, I really appreciate that, knowing that. I hope the rest of the board does too, because I think it gives us some place to look to council and address council in terms of that it's important for the community.
I will say too, I've mentioned this before, but we do have some new state laws that are coming out or have came out and that we're waiting for advisement on, which will actually require modification to our code no matter what. Some of that may get done in-house. Once again, we're just having to follow the requirements presented to us by the state, and not necessarily having too much flexibility in regards to complying with that. But I definitely hear what you're saying, and that code audit and opening it up and seeing what's in there, we're hoping that to be an option for the future.
Super.
Thank you.
Down in section 1, under regular meetings, I'd also like to propose that the board consider that as far as a something be designated as budget meeting, and that we say annually the board shall review a prior budget and expenses and submit a new budget to the city council.
I just want to amend that to say biennial because it's a biennial budget.
That is correct. We do update our budget biannually.
Actually, I did draw a little arrow there with the B above it. Sorry about that. Yeah.
And usually
Please speak into your microphone.
I thought I had it still on. I'm trying to recall, but because we haven't done that for probably about 5 or 6 years, but we would actually bring it up at about the 18-month mark so that we could get in some ideas and begin to develop a list of ideas.
We've definitely been floating that, and we've been having discussions with the clerk's office and with the city manager's office, talking about making sure that we get kind of a work plan ready for this board and for all of our boards, frankly. So that would be more likely your option for identifying what your work plan is. Once again, that work plan then gets approved by city council, and that would be then your budget ask in that situation.
Again, it's like going back to Sarah, when did you have this listed on our long-term planning goals thing? Because there was a sort of a agenda set over a couple of year time frame that also coincided so we could keep track of when the grants were coming from the different King County groups, as well as other grants that might come up that we wanted to be supported on.
I think right now, specifically just where the state of Washington is at, we're almost every jurisdiction like us is in what's called a comprehensive planning effort. We're really looking at, and I know a lot of you already know this, but I'm just putting it on the record, we're really having that big picture policy visioning for the future conversations. Once we get through that, that's when the implementation strategies start rolling out. That's when what grants are we going to go after come rolling out, and a lot of the money from the state comes rolling out. So right now, I think we're just kind of in a holding pattern while we do our visionary practices and we get our comprehensive plan and our vision and our roadmap established. And then I really think you'll see that a lot of what you're kind of asking for is these implementation projects, code audits, updating our inventory, getting more mapping resources. We talked about a walking tour last session. Those are the kind of things that we can start plopping on that work plan.
Yeah.
And get that conversation going.
I've tried to be attentive to the comprehensive plan as much as it's huge. I haven't found anything in there that suggests that we would be developing relationships with Native peoples in the region in order to better ascertain perspectives on history that we would incorporate into our own historical records and relationships that we would build and continue through projects and shared interests.
Absolutely duly noted. I have not been on the authoring end of the comprehensive plan. I've been reviewing as a technical support, but noted, indicated, and I will definitely let our team members know.
Any suggestions at how I further that in terms of the direction of the comprehensive plan?
Absolutely. Emailing via the Imagine Bothell email. We've had a couple community open houses the last few weeks. I've gone to both of them. They've been very successful. We've had a good turnout. We've had a historic preservation board at each one of those. I believe that we are planning on having potentially an additional community meeting in the future. But if not, just putting forth your comments via email or through the Imagine Bothell portal. We are diligent on reading those and making sure that we take into consideration all the community input. And I mean, here today, this is on the record. So, yeah. And also for everyone out there going to your local planning commission meeting and making a public comment, going to the city council meeting and making a public comment. I believe that the planning commission and council may have a joint comprehensive plan comment session. That would be a fantastic place to go talk about that and discuss that, or discuss what anyone else wants to make sure that it is added to the comprehensive plan.
Just don't make sure that only a few of you attend and do not make a quorum.
No
Oh,
more.
as far as the board members
Yes.
go, thank you.
Correct.
No
I mean,
more than 3 at any time,
Right.
ever,
I mean,
ever,
you know,
ever.
that's the reason why a committee is only 3,
Yep.
because your quorum is 4. So, you know, that's the only kind of caveat to that.
Got to remember, if you walk in a room and you see 3 others, you got to leave.
And we could.
Well, okay, that is true. Thank you, Nick.
We could, if 4 or more of you want to go, absolutely, we can notice for it.
Yeah, you gotta
it could
notice.
be a meeting, which is totally fine. It would probably be a special meeting in this instance because it would not fall on the new date. But absolutely, and I'm more speaking to just the general public
Yeah.
when I say that. But thank you.
And also, as far as meetings go, I'd like to suggest that we have an annual code review and revision meeting. Annually, the board shall review the BMC, Bothell Municipal Code, regarding historic preservation and recommend changes to the city council. And again, I don't know if that should be annually or
It actually has been typically annually. It's just sort of if we set a calendar over X number of months, that's just sort of a placeholder, as are different grants, and because the grants typically have not been of such substance that you don't have to go out for 2 or 3 or even 4 over a period of years to accomplish a project. And it would be nice to be in better position, but that's just the way things are. So you have to kind of have this list of things, because we also review how many potential properties might be available based on the inventory, which has to be updated every so often, and then something gets flagged.
I guess also I'd like to include in there that we review zoning regarding properties on the inventory, so that we're aware of properties that might be on the inventory but are in zoning that would probably preclude preservation of them. Does that make sense?
Well, any property that is on the inventory and that has action, such as someone wants to do something with it, that comes here.
Yeah.
Right, but it often comes here.
Preemptively, no. We do
Right.
not review that.
So that's what I'm
city
kind of
doesn't
looking
have
for.
resources to be, reviewing every property out there. Potentially, you're asking to review what's on the inventory.
Correct,
Understood.
yeah.
Yeah.
That way, we can be a little bit preemptive in terms of saying, well, yeah, the city back whenever did this zoning change on it, but that zoning change means that, the value of that piece of property, site,
Yeah.
all of the things that are listed that we're supposed to be concerned about is way less to the owner than a new Home Depot or a Lowe's or a whatever.
And I would mention too, I know one of the early on implementation plans for implementing the comprehensive plan is going to be updating the downtown sub-area. I would guarantee that anything to do with 505, the historic section, that would be coming in front of you guys for any modifications, for any suggestions. Once again, a lot of this is, is going, I think you're going to be surprised about how much is actually going to be coming in front of you at some point in the near future with any comprehensive plan. I mean, we have a few of you on the board who have been on the board for, quite some time, and every 7 to 10 years, usually there's a pretty big lift.
Let's just say it gets a little busy or a little more reading. Yeah, and then you frankly run around the mountain again because you run into some of the same issues, such as most of our downtown buildings are owned by out-of-town owners. And something to think about is implementation that does not have to be written in the code, but becomes a habit that when the inventory is updated, those potential properties that could be applicable to a register, whether national, state, or local, are flagged, and then a letter goes out to let the owners know that there is a potential, and are they interested, and how to let us know if they are, because, well, we can't be just preemptive, but it's a way of getting people involved in the process, which means that we need our inventory updated. But then that also, Ray, helps us to know if properties are in jeopardy, because then we have the locations.
Yeah.
So.
Under Article 8, committees, I just want to ask a question. It may be assumed, if a chair does appoint a committee, is that considered an action item that's going to show up in the minutes?
No.
Because I guess I would say we could add to that the formation of a committee, its assignment shall be noted in the minutes.
Usually is.
May I ask what the intent of the comment is? Either what's the difference, I guess, but the two alternatives here is that it's an action item voted on by the board, or it's just an established appointment by the chair.
Well, my understanding here is that a committee can just simply be appointed by the chair, right? It doesn't have to be voted on by the board.
That's the way it's written, correct?
Correct. So would that appear in the minutes of a meeting then, that the chair did that? I guess that's what I'm asking.
That would be the chair's prerogative. I would imagine, yes, it would be identified that, because it would need to be appointed during a regular scheduled meeting.
Okay. I guess I'm just concerned that the chair, from reading this, wouldn't necessarily know that they're supposed to request that be in the minutes along with the charge to the committee. In other words, if you're going to set up a committee, say 3 of us are appointed to look at a section of the code, with a consultant or something to revise, I would think that we would want that noted in the minutes, and we'd want to let the chair know that there's a way to do that, that you request that it be noted in the minutes, and the task of the committee and its time frame be.
And when we have a chair, we go through, the bylaws, and we provide trainings for staff, and absolutely make them aware of all of their options and the tools, right?
And you know what? That's actually the last comments I have.
Here may be a historic question. Has there ever been a committee made on the Landmarks Board ever? I don't know. I don't. Okay.
Yeah. Just for instance, when we were working on the book.
That makes sense.
Yeah, different sections were allocated to different committees.
And I'm sure sometimes, board members may get pulled in for advisory committees on other things in the
Yeah.
past. There's a few different ways to go about getting a little bit more involved.
And by their nature, they're temporary.
Yeah, that makes sense. We already approved this portion, but I just have I'm fine with it. I just by this, pretense there. Why did we choose the second Wednesday? I know that is it a scheduling period? That's the end of story, or?
The second Wednesdays are when Planning Commission is. And so it landed on a day where all of our staff and everyone can be ready to go on Wednesdays. Wednesdays are the days.
Got it.
Also, that we imagined that there would be no conflict with council.
That makes sense.
That was the main goal, is that we're expecting to have a lot of council meetings coming up, and making sure that just consistency with that. And one thing specifically with us trying to use this room from now on, rather than barely being able to hear each other, not having good recordings, and not being able to upload our events to YouTube, with us using this room, that was the trade-off that we had to schedule around City Council.
No, but I should have asked that before we approved it, but I don't have a problem with it anyway, so, but I just figured I'd ask.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, are there any other comments? Anyone on Zoom? Going once? Going twice? Seeing none? So that looks good. So now I believe we go on to the election of Landmark Preservation Board officers. The current Landmark Preservation Board officers are myself, Andrew Nelson, and Vice Chair Vicky Sampi, who were elected May 23rd, 2023. Before we go into nominations, I just want to say that my kind of philosophy around the officers is that if somebody wants to do it, we should be able to kind of switch them around every it's yearly, is that the term? So my point being is that if someone else wants to serve as chair, I'm not going to stand in their way. It's an honor to do it. I'll just say I've learned a lot, particularly around public hearings. I had no idea what a public hearing was before I did it. And then I do it, and then it's how I learned. So I'd be more than willing to do it again. But if someone else wants to do it, I'm going to, and anyone else wants to nominate themselves too. But if someone else wants to chair, they certainly can. But I'd be willing to do it again. So that's kind of my thought surrounding that. So. Yeah. Does anyone on Zoom have any thoughts surrounding that, or surrounding nominating somebody?
I just mentioned that it's okay to self-nominate here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're rather informal that way. Okay, if we
So-
don't have anybody
so-
nominating, I'm going to renominate you.
I appreciate that. I'm still learning. I appreciate it. Sometimes I
So-
mess up the packet.
It's
But,
the best way to learn how to do it.
I will say, yeah, I mean, particularly around the public hearings, that was I learned how to lead a public hearing, and that was an interesting thing to do, so. Invaluable to hear public comment and testimony. I might be rambling a bit, but
I was just going to mention you've been doing a great job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you,
since I
Nick.
came on board here. So.
I appreciate it.
Well done.
Okay, so I see, thanks. Board Member Sampi moves to nominate Andrew Nelson to be the chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Board Member Thomas seconds. Is there any discussion on this? Well, there's going to be a discussion because I'm going to say something. So I want to thank everyone for that. And I'll continue to try my best. I think that's what we can do. And I I appreciate the good comments, and I really mean that. That means a lot to me. Grew up in Bothell. I mean, this is my home. So to serve on a board and to be a chair of a board, it really is an honor. So I really do appreciate it. That's my comment. Seeing as there are no other comments, let's go. We're going to go to a vote. Board Member Thomas.
Aye.
Board Member Babajinov.
Aye.
Myself, I guess I'll vote yes. That's fine. Board Member ADJOURNMENT.
Aye.
Board Member Salazar.
Aye.
And Board Member Sampi.
Aye.
Thank you. It passes 6-0. Well, now we're going to go to Vice Chair. And our current Vice Chair is Board Member Sampi. I don't know if you have any thoughts or comments, but or if you want to keep doing that role, it's up to you.
Unless somebody else, excuse me, unless somebody else would like to do the role, it's just a privilege as always to be the backup, so to speak.
I'm sure you did a great job. Well, thank you for leading the meeting last time too.
Oh, I got the fun one.
I'll nominate Vicky Sampi as our Vice President, or Vice Chair.
Vice President, yeah.
I will second that.
Thank you.
So Board Member Thomas moves that Board Member Sampi will be our Vice Chair. I second. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll go to a vote. Board Member Thomas.
Aye.
Board Member Babajinov.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Board Member ADJOURNMENT.
Aye.
Board Member Salazar.
Aye.
And Board Member Sampi.
Aye.
Excellent.
Thank
Passes
you.
6-0. And thank you for doing that too. And I also want to thank city staff for what they do. I don't think I've said that yet, but you all do a great job. So, reports from staff. I don't see any. Oh, I take that back. I see one.
Got a couple walk-on items here. The first one was going to be that I was going to update the board on the budget ask from the community development director. That is being worked out as we speak. I think I saw Jason get out of the meeting at 5 p.m. exactly, talking about the budget. So that is under works. And we will hopefully have, once again, some conversations about establishing a work plan for this board shortly. We've had some discussions about combined meetings with City Council. And once again, getting that work plan sorted out and identifying some of the things that we talked today about the bylaws and seeing what we can get added on there. The second item was that City Council voted unanimously to affirm the Landmark Preservation Board's recommendation and to add the McAdoo House to the Bothell Historic Registry.
Yes.
So that's a fantastic win, and I just want to say, that couldn't have happened without coming through here first.
Excellent.
And staff and the owner are working through an agreement for the maintenance of that agreement, and that's under works, and we're being advised by our professional over here. So we're really lucky to have that happen, and once again, just a good win for this board. It's a really cool house. I hope everyone's had the chance to see it. And so, yeah, congratulations, you guys.
I just like to comment that I just thought your work on that was just outstanding.
Oh,
It was superb.
and the report, Adam, that was really well done.
Thank you very much. All due credit and deference to Penelope Cottrell Crawford and Tom Hauser of Willamette Cultural Resources Associates. I was just QA QC.
That's good.
I will say I've been on the board I think for about 2 years now, and that was probably my favorite project. So they did great. Everyone did a great job with that. So
Yeah, and I did just want to point out briefly too that there's a tremendous amount of public interest in the actual designation of the McAdoo House as a landmark. And I was approached, by it was the Washington Trust for Historic Preservation wants to do a feature on it, but I asked them politely to hold off in deference to, the way that our city handles landmark nominations and designations in the two-part step, in the two-step process that we have. And so I'll be in touch once we have the management agreement signed and recorded. I'll be in touch with the Washington Trust for Historic Preservation. And so expect that probably, hopefully later this year, published in their periodical. So.
Yes.
And I would just add that hopefully we can get some more of these.
Yeah.
Right? So that's our goal, and hopefully, even if we could get one a year, something like that. Right?
That used to be our goal, either for any of the nominations and then
Right.
getting it up to national too.
And now we have experience going through the process, and we can streamline it. And do we have another one coming shortly, or what's the similar?
So the next door neighbor to Pat Pierce, because Pat Pierce nominated her house, designed and built by noted Bothell resident I.B. Graham. Her next door neighbor has not been in touch about wishing to pursue landmark designation. So not sure if we're going to see that again, but it's like I'd be more than happy to reach out and contact them. But
Which house? Which of the two?
well, it was the one. Apologies to immediately to the west. Immediately.
He was on the board.
I wasn't in touch with I forget the individual's name who I was in touch with, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Previously.
And then my last item here is that we have under the amendments section of the bylaws, which I have pulled up on the screen. We have the absences, and I just wanted to identify that we have had 2 board members with 2 unexcused absences, Board Member Babajnov and Board Member Ariel Jyothi, I believe, who are both here today, so thank you for being here. Once again, I am just alerting you, staff, to the board of the bylaws here, and it is completely up to your discretion to have your conversation today. I just also would like to put on the record that we have heard and noted that, one, there's been some email issues of people getting into their Bothell emails. 2, we have had some staff turnaround, specifically with Sarah Frost recently leaving, who managed all of the calendar invites, and she really made this board run. And so her duties were kind of passed off one by one as because she removed her hours from 40 to 5 hours. And so as things kind of got passed around, some things I will identify got kind of dropped. And so once again, with some of those calendar invites not going out, I'm giving all of the board members the benefit of the doubt that they have not been fully, given the typical information that they get for the announcement of every regular scheduled meeting. But once again, it's completely up to you guys to have the discussion around this section of the bylaw. And whether or not, luckily the 2 board members are here today. If you guys are still wanting to be on the board, we would love to have you if you still are. Just thank you, everyone. We understand that this is a volunteer position, and we're just appreciative of everyone's time. But I am more here just giving you that staff update for you guys to have further discussion. I'll leave it to you, Chair,
Thank you so much.
to discuss.
Oh. Well, the discussion, you mean, I'm sorry, a question, you mean like just on, so what you just said, or,
Yeah, it's. I mean, once again, I'll read it. So in accumulation by any board member, 2 consecutive or a total of 3 unexcused absences from regular meetings and or public hearings or appeals during a calendar year constitutes grounds for recommendation by the board to city council for removal of that member. An excused absence will be granted to any member who notifies the city staff or board chair at least 3 days in advance of the meeting. Once again, we have 2 board members that are sitting in the 2 back-to-back unexcused absence period. We understand life comes up too. People have things going on. There's been some sickness going around. Totally understandable. I just more so, Chair, I'm hoping for you to have a discussion with the 2
I see.
board members and for you, board, to use your discretion, of course.
I would just ask the board members, is there anyone that would prefer to step down from the board? We'd entertain a resignation if that seems appropriate. I don't think our operations have been compromised by anyone's absence. However, absences from the board do leave you out of the loop in terms of what's happening, what the public's looking at, what our concerns are. So I would just encourage people, if they want to stay on the board, to stay active and be here, because we do have a lot of changes coming up, and it's going to be fascinating work, I think, in the future. So.
yeah, I suppose, I agree with that. I think that we'd love to have everyone on this board stay here. I know it sometimes can be tough to recruit folks to join these boards, but when they do, they end up usually having a good time. That happened to me. I signed up and I have a good time doing it. I guess my thought process is, if you want to if you still want to, stay on the board, if you know you're gonna be absent, just let somebody know, either myself or city staff. I was actually one of the people having trouble getting into my email. I got into it now, so I'm all set there. So if you want to email me, that's fine. Or again, the city staff, but I don't see any reason to necessarily remove anyone or do anything like that. I just make sure to go to the meetings if you can, and if you can't, just let us know. But again, yeah, if somebody wants to, if somebody does not want to serve on the board, then and they want to resign today, that's up to them. But I encourage you all to stay if you can.
I just want to clarify, we did pass the bylaws, so our next meeting will be the second Wednesday in June?
That is correct. We will have a quick turnaround. Yes. I will also mention, too, on the previous subject, if no one wants to say anything today, the 2 board members that we are discussing, you're welcome to email the chair, myself, after the meeting as well.
For sure. Yeah,
I would just add to my previous comment that not only will the work be fascinating, it will be important, and it may be difficult at times.
that's true too.
Challenging is a better word.
Thank you, Vicki.
But yeah, so there's no need to.
Should anybody step down? Is there backup candidates for replacement at this time, or what is the process to backfill?
Yeah, great question, Board Member Salazar. I do believe that we had an open house for new candidates, and if my memory serves me correctly, I do think that we did have some candidates who were not selected. So there are probably some backups that we could call back out, or we may need to just hold another open house again. I'm not exactly sure at this time of where we're at, but I could definitely get back to the board and update you at the next regular scheduled meeting if necessary.
Okay, and then are board members allowed to come in at any given time throughout the year?
We've had that.
Yes, most recently, our newest board member, Mr. Burgess, filled an empty seat, and that's why he was able to start immediately. Whereas typically new board members, as I put in parentheses, or in quotations, is they typically would start in May. But yes, if we have an empty seat, we can fill it.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, no need to, if you don't, if neither board member Bajanoff or board member Audio, you don't have to say anything or anything right now. I don't want to call, but if you have any, if you want to email myself or Nick or Adam, Adam or anyone, go ahead. But of course, last thing I want to say about it is we would like you to stay because obviously we like having you here. So I want to be clear with that too. So, thank you. So going down, reports from members. Are there anything that kind of go to the order things that anyone would like to discuss? Board Member Thomas.
I sent a concern statement to Nick that I don't think the rest of you received. And Nick called me this afternoon. We had a nice discussion about this. And I would say that I'm not going to read this and share it all with you right now. I think it's been very clear from my previous statements that I have very grave concerns about the training of board members, how much we really know about the code, how much we know about what applies where, and what authority we do or don't have in certain circumstances. And so I'm gonna, I don't know, maybe you can tell us, do we have significant agenda items for our June meeting?
I don't believe so, but
I would,
we can follow up.
I would move, and I because it's a short turnaround, I want staff comment on this motion. But I'd like to move that our next meeting then, staff review the BMC as pertains to the Landmarks Preservation Board, and that we begin a conversation and recommendations for code changes that would be presented to the council. I don't know that we can accomplish all that in one meeting, but it would be a start for us at least. There may be a more effective means of doing that without putting it on a meeting agenda, but
Yeah.
that's my recommendation at this point.
Understood, heard. I, once again want to remind you as well that, as I've alluded to, we are planning on adding a code review and a code update and bringing that to this board in the future. We have not prepared that work plan specifically yet.
Do you have a time frame on that at all?
Once the budget gets passed, then I would be able to give you an update on that. Once again, this is one of the biggest budget asks, is for updates to Title 22, Landmark Historic Preservation citywide. And I'm just the messenger, but that is where we're at. We've asked for it.
I guess I want to hear other comments from the board if there's any. Did I put that in the form of a motion? I don't think I did I?
I don't think you have to.
I don't think you necessarily have to, because I think you.
Not a business segment.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't really a new business item. You guys can discuss. It's a comment. Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's something city staff will be working on. I mean, that's the only comment I have, I think. That's what I'm hearing, at least.
A lot of like the state law stuff I know typically has requirements. Some of the items are 6 months after your comprehensive plan update goes into effect. Once again, some of them are a little bit sooner. But I would imagine for the state mandated code updates, that's the time frame we're looking at, is around there. And I can get you back on get back to you guys on specifics of that time frame. For general code revisions and doing like the code audit potential, that's really determined on whether or not we get the budget.
Mm-hmm.
So report from members, is this a good time to ask a question? Or is that, it's going to be kind of good to the, okay.
Absolutely.
For our June meeting, and if you don't know the answer, that's okay, to clarify. Do you know what would be on our agenda? Because just quick 2-week turnarounds, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah,
but-
there's actually currently nothing on the agenda. It's like there's nothing to.
So it's just like scheduled, and then if something comes up, okay. Is that-
Right, and so, I mean, let's say what's 14 days? Well, basically today.
Yeah. Well, that's what my thought too, yeah.
Yeah, so, it's looking like, there's a suggestion for something to discuss, but I think, that correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like Nick, we've got a very specific direction from the board members about the bylaws, and so that really is your agenda item, is you're going to be looking at your bylaws again.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have to go back, talk with legal, talk with senior city staff, et cetera, and then incorporate those. And that might be a little bit too quick of a turnaround.
I was going to say,
I mean-
if you guys get an answer in 2 weeks, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, it'd be quick.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
We would be giving you guys your guys' agenda at least a week in advance, and we will be letting you know at that time whether or not we've had enough time to bring that and turn that around and bring it back to you. Otherwise, we can discuss some of the items that Mr. Board Member Thomas has brought up today. If not, then we would adjourn that meeting and follow up the following meeting. We understand too that we have a quick turnaround with the change of date, and so we kind of acknowledge that it might be likely that one might get skipped.
Yeah.
That's okay. I just wanted to ask just in case, just to kind of understand that. I appreciate that. That was the answer I need, so thank you for that.
Yeah, if the board members could please, definitely reserve the, 6:00 p.m. Wednesday, June the 12th, which is the second Wednesday of June. That would be fantastic.
And then check to see if
Correct.
it's viable.
Yeah, correct. And so the other thing that, staff could also provide is a training, to be determined. It seems like that might be time as well. So Nick and I will be in discussion, and but for the time being, please mark it on your calendars, because Wednesday, June the 12th, and then the July meeting would be Wednesday, July the 10th. And just a reminder that we're dark in August and do not meet.
Right. I have a question. What is the ETA on the state bylaws? Do you have them now? We don't have all that information yet, do we?
I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
The changes that are going to occur.
There are a lot of different big bills coming out through the legislative packet that have already been adopted, but we're still waiting for further guidance from the state agencies. A lot of them have to do with just general board and commissions, design review boards, We have very specific new requirements on timing for permits and how quick and transparent it needs to be on, expectable timeframes. There are a lot of new things that came out that our legal teams are looking at, and some of which this may affect this board, some of which may not. That's why we have to go through and wait and figure that out. I would say a lot of those things are, once again, things that most likely will need to be in compliance with 6 months after comprehensive plan update, just because they understand big changes, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have one more kind of report. It's kind of a shout out. On Friday, Pride at the Park. That's a city event, right? We're going to have that. Is that at the landing?
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think there was, anyways, never mind. But I thought I saw that on the city Facebook page. But regardless, just a shout out for it. Pride at the Park. Oh, board member Salazar.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of Board Member Thomas and in agreement to a high overview. I think a lot of times, at least me personally, I've been caught on the spot. Now, staff does a fantastic job of explaining what we can and cannot do. But unfortunately, sometimes we're just under the gun on having to make a judgment within a matter of minutes to make a ruling on a particular matter that I just was not familiar with, what the landmark preservation was able to do and not do. So I'm just, once again, just piggybacking off of Board Member Thomas I think that would be a great overview. As when I joined last year, there was a training, but it was on when to speak, kind of just welcome to being a board member. This is how it's conducted. And now for other board members now going on their second year, to have a little bit more fine details around kind of the nuances of the landmark committee would be great. Once again, I think Adam does a fantastic job and other staff members of assisting us while the situations do come up, but it'd be great just kind of, if possible, to get more insight into that training.
Understood. Thank you.
Excellent comment. Thank you.
And I pulled it up. Pride in the Park, May 31st, 2024, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to that. I'll be there. It's a little bit of an inconvenient time, but I'm gonna. It's okay. I'll be there. So I don't know. Just a shout out, but that's all I have for my kind of report there. Are there any other reports? Or go to the order? Seeing none. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'd move that we adjourn.
Board Member Thomas moves that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second it.
Board Member Sompi seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none. Board Member Thomas.
Aye.
Board Member Babajanov.
Aye.
Myself, aye. Board Member Ari Jyoti.
Aye.
Board Member Salazar.
Aye.
And Board Member Sompi.
Aye.
Passes 6-0. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.